Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are sketching out an absolutely massive shift in how we handle complex information. Think about doing taxes for a second. Most people just picture someone hunched over, punching numbers into a form, right? But as you know, real tax work is honestly more like solving a mystery. It's about finding what matters, noticing what's missing, and deciding exactly what to do next. So today, we're going to draw out how a completely new technology called Agentic AI is literally changing the entire game.
To really wrap our heads around this shift, you have to ask yourself, what's the actual difference between a flashlight and a guide? Imagine you're lost in a dark forest. A flashlight is just a tool, right? It shines a beam, it shows you exactly what is directly in front of you, and, well, that's it. But a guide looks at what that flashlight reveals, remembers where you just came from, realizes, hey, a storm is coming, and actually helps you choose the safest path forward. For decades, our software has basically just been a flashlight, but today we're finally moving towards software that acts like a guide.
All right, let's quickly map out our roadmap for today. First, we'll look beyond basic tax software. Then we'll ask, what makes AI agentic? After that, we'll take a peek inside automated tax intelligence. And finally, we'll wrap up with your new role in tax.
Okay, let's dive right into part one, beyond basic tax software. Picture traditional tools as a calculator, sort of haphazardly taped to a filing cabinet. They hold information perfectly, sure, and they apply fixed rules, but they don't actually understand anything. Agentic AI, on the other hand, is much more like a sharp junior analyst. Think about it. An analyst doesn't just sit there waiting for a magical formula. They look across multiple sources, they follow a specific goal, they take action, and, this is key, they update their next move based on what they find. We are literally moving from a static filing cabinet to a dynamic, thinking assistant.
Moving right along to Section 2, what actually makes AI agentic?
Listen, a true agentic system is not just some glorified smarter search bar. Normally, AI waits for a prompt, spits out an answer, and boom, goes right back to sleep. Agentic AI doesn't do that. It starts with a goal and persistently works toward it. It actively notices missing puzzle pieces, makes a move, and uses feedback to constantly adjust its path along the way.
If traditional software is just that old paper map sitting quietly on your dashboard showing you where things are, Agentic AI is the active navigator sitting right there in the passenger seat. When you hit a roadblock or a closed street, a real navigator doesn't just stare at you blankly, right? They actively reroute you. They figure out the exact next best turn to get you to your destination.
What's really fascinating is how these 5 core traits actually mimic human problem solving. First, it starts with a goal. Second, it relies on feedback, constantly evolving as new info arrives. Third, it takes a massive, honestly scary problem and breaks it down, decomposes it into bite-sized steps. Fourth, it works with context, knowing that a number only matters if you know, say, the year it belongs to. And finally, number 5, it hands the work back to humans whenever it gets confused.
Which brings us to Section 3, inside automated tax intelligence. Let's see how this actually works.
To really grasp this, we have to stop thinking of AI as one giant, all-knowing brain locked inside a supercomputer. Instead, think of a highly coordinated kitchen brigade. In a professional kitchen, you've got one person gathering ingredients, someone else chopping them, another checking for freshness, and the head chef tasting and adjusting. Well, automated tax intelligence works the exact same way. It's a team of specialized functions gathering, checking, and preparing your data. And that brigade approach builds a super clear chain of tasks. First, set a boundary and a goal. Second, gather the evidence. Third, check the picture for consistency. Fourth, decide the next move based entirely on what was found. And fifth, produce a usable output. It is a complete, well-oiled assembly line.
Now, step 2, gathering, is incredibly crucial. Because, let's be real, the truth in tax is rarely just sitting there in one neat little folder. The system doesn't just blindly retrieve files, it actively connects fragments. It pulls an invoice from over here, a ledger entry from over there, maybe a policy document from a random email, and it builds the vital context you actually need to understand the whole shebang.
Imagine drawing this out on a whiteboard. You've got a classic detective board up on the wall, completely covered in photos and documents, with those crazy red strings connecting all the clues together. One clue by itself is weak, but when those strings line up, a crystal clear pattern emerges. That highlights the checking phase perfectly. The AI tests for consistency, actively looking for mismatches between your internal policies and external rules. If a string doesn't connect logically, the system flags it. When dealing with the messy middle of a task, traditional tools start with a command, use rigid fixed rules, and honestly, when they get confused, they either guess wildly or just crash. But Agentic AI, it starts with a goal, relies on feedback, and handles uncertainty by pausing and asking you for help. It flat out refuses to force an unsafe answer. And that right there is absolutely crucial for building trust.
Finally, let's look at Section 4, your new role in tax. Because of all this, your role is shifting fundamentally. You are no longer just digging through digital boxes for missing data. Nope. You become the head chef checking that kitchen brigade's work. You're the one reviewing the mismatched strings on the detective board, and you are the one deciding what truly deserves human attention. So let me leave you with this final provocative thought. You now know the difference between software that just quietly stores information and a system that actively pursues a goal. You have the map, and now you understand the navigator. So, how are you going to use this new guide to navigate the future of your complex tax decisions? Think about how you can finally stop merely managing data and start designing your own automated intelligence systems. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.